Hello, I'm Trey, and today I wanted to cover RedMod. Um, Now I know that CDPR has put out a couple videos covering RedMod and how you can go about using RedMod to make script mods and stuff like that. But to be honest, I don't feel like uh, they're very beginner friendly. Like it kind of like shows you, oh, these are the scripts. This is, you can change stuff in it, but it doesn't really explain the programming. And kind of more or less the fundamental rules of the language itself. So um, now, as they've demonstrated in their video, I am going to show you real quick. You need to, when you make a mod, so this is a mod I made called malware. It's already been released. If you want to get it, you can get it. It's on my Google Drive. I'll put a link in the description again for the updated version because I have updated it since the last release. Um, but I made some changes and fixed a few minor things. Because I kind of just slapped it together because I wanted to do a level 1 playthrough. So, I got it working, but I didn't bother actually polishing it and making it, better, and I have been doing a little bit of working on it here and there. It's just far and few between. So, anyways, um, one thing you got to keep in mind is you have to, as they said in their videos, respect the relative path. So when you're going to mod something, like as you see here, we got scripts, um, then we got Cyberpunk, and then we got systems, and then we got player development system, which is the main script I modified. These other scripts, like managers, I haven't really messed too much with it, but there is stuff that I'm going to have to change in there to get some future updates working. I haven't gotten around to that yet, though. So, anyway, you have to make sure that you create your folder that respects the path. So, you would create, in this case, you would create the mod. So mod name, like I've got it here too. So mod name, you would create your new folder, and then mod, for instance, whatever you want to name it. My caps lock is on, but um, then you'd have to go and then you'd have to make a folder called scripts, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to go over creating the whole path, but you get the idea. So as you see, we've got in our mods folder, we have malware, and inside of malware, we've got scripts, then we've got cyberpunk, and then we've got systems, and then you need the script that you're going to modify from that relative path. Or if you're going to modify multiple scripts, you need all of the scripts that you're going to be making changes to. So, with that out of the way, that's really, they've covered that. You know, um, I feel like I may have covered it in a little bit of a shorter winded explanation. Um, but that's all you need to know for that part. Now, you may be wondering what's this JSON.info or info.json, right? This here is just, this here just basically tells the name of the mod version. I don't know. You might be able to omit this. You might not have to actually add this. You could probably get away with not adding it. I don't know if it'll work without having this info.json or not. I haven't really tried it, but even if you don't want to put anything in there, just make one, and then you could just open and close braces, and you don't even have to put anything in there. You can just make an empty, if it does require it. I don't know. Somebody else can try that. I'm not going to bother. Um, so now on to the finer points of the language itself. So for any of you that followed any of my GSC tutorials, you'll know that I've talked about type dependency, and we'll go over here and I'll break out one of my scripts real quick from Call of Duty World at War. So we'll go ahead and manage, and then we'll browse local files. Then we'll go to mods, we'll go to my tutorial, maps, and then I'll pull up one of my GSC scripts. So let's see, we'll just pick one. Let's just pick teleport. Okay. So as I've talked about in there, variables and stuff like that are not type dependent. Like right here, this is a variable, right? And this is set to the return value of a function, obviously. It's not the most simple variable, but you know, it's not like equals a number or something like that. But anyway, this is a variable, and we're setting it to something. And in the case of GSC, it doesn't matter what type it is. You don't have to tell it like this is a number, this is a string, whatnot. You don't have to explain to it that this is what they call an interpreted language. So when it's compiled at runtime, the game works that out for you in the background. So that's kind of like JavaScript. It's an interpreted language. So like your variable, you know, if it's a string, it'll figure that out whenever it comes across that line of code. So you don't have to worry about that. So it's a little bit more forgiving. I wouldn't say GSC is real forgiving because, I mean, you make a slight mistake and it just throws you compiler errors and all kinds of other shit. Um, so, I mean, you still have to get stuff right, but it's more forgiving in the fact that you don't have to think like, oh shit, what data type is this, you know? You could pretty much just make it, you know, you can make one thing like, see, we got cost here, and this one's equal to a number. This one's more easier to understand. So we've got cost, and it's equal to 100, right? But this could be anything. I could change this to, you know, a string, you know. I could put in like some quotes here like this. I could just copy this over and put that there. And it would still figure out, okay, well, this is a string now. Although that would fuck this code up because this code already does something and it's expecting it to work in a certain way. You know, the code is written based around that actually being a number. So if I changed it, it would just break the code basically, unless I rewrote it to make use of a string. But the point I'm trying to make here is that these variables aren't type dependent, so you don't have to explain to the language or to the compiler that hey, this is a number, right? You don't have to do that. Now, when it comes to Cyberpunk modding, or I'm not sure, maybe The Witcher's the same. I haven't modded The Witcher. I haven't gotten around to messing with that. I haven't even played them yet, so I want to play the games before I start, you know, fucking around and making them harder. So, like in the case of this, this has got a lot more stuff going on. There's a lot more things open to you that you don't have in GSC, for instance. So, like, uh, right here, we have a class. You didn't have classes in GSC. GSC didn't have classes. Um, so, you basically you had to work around the limitations of it. This, you have a lot less limitations, but it's also less forgiving as well because you also have to tell it stuff like what kind of data type. And we're going to get into that in a minute here. So as you see, we've got a class. This is the player development data class. And this is where I made a lot of the mods to the player development system for my mod to disable leveling, so you can't level up in any field. So you can't level, street cred, any proficiencies, all that stuff. I explained that in the video when I released the mod. But anyway, let's move on to explaining some of this. So let's take a look at this one first, because this is not too difficult to understand. This is a smaller function. As you can see here, this one here, we'll start with this first. This is a function. This takes in no parameters, and it doesn't return anything. So as you can see, it just does what it does and then ends. So pretty easy to understand. I'm not going to get into all of this like private function, public function, just yet. But if you're just starting out, just know that uh, it only really matters if you plan on using that function somewhere else that isn't within the class that you put the function in. So, like, say you wanted to use this function here. This one here is public. This can be used in other classes, but there's a roundabout way you got to do it. And to be honest, I don't fully understand it myself. I haven't really messed with it too much. I haven't had to call functions from other classes too much yet, but I'm going to be having to do that soon with the changes I want to make to this mod pretty soon. So we're not going to get too into that. But we're going to start off now. We've already covered it. Basically, you could create a function private. You could create a private static or private const. So I'll talk about const real quick. Const just means that this is not changing. And that's usually the same with like in C++. You could have like const int, for instance, which is a constant integer. That means that this is set in stone. It cannot be changed. So if you go into a function and you try and change that value, it's not going to let you. You're going to get a compiler error because that's a constant. So basically, it's got a constant value. You would need to change. You would need to remove the const keyword to be allowed to do anything with it, basically, outside of whatever you originally intended it to do. So let's see. We'll take a look at right here. This one here. So public const function. So this function basically is kind of set in stone. You can change it, but the point of the matter is that this is meant to be constant. It's meant to constantly be the same. Now, we're going to take a look at the parameters. So the parameter that's being passed in is a type. And you may be wondering, well, there's colon, and this game data proficiency type. Well, that is the type of data that type is. So when you pass in a variable or something to a function in RedModScript, you have to tell it, you have to give it what you're passing in, and you have to tell it what type of data it is. And in this case, this is a data type that was created for the game. So it's not like a normal C++ data type. It's one that was created for this game. So, and now you'll see at the end here, after the parameter that's passed in, outside of the braces, we have colon, and int32. So that is the return. This is what it's returning, the data type it is returning. So if it's going to return something, you have to tell it what data type it's returning. So in this case, we're returning an int32, which is a 32-bit integer. And integers are single whole numbers, basically, no decimals. So it can't be 1.2. It's going to be 1 or 0, basically, or whatever number. But, like, that's numbers like 1, 10, 100, 150, 200. Just nothing with decimals. Up to the limit of a 32-bit integer, which is pretty high. So, I mean, for most cases, a 32-bit integer would be pretty much fine. Um, so yeah, that's what that's doing. And as you can see, we're returning -1 here, returning I here. This is based on what's going on inside of here. So we have a variable. We're going to cover that real quick. The same thing applies. When you create a variable, you have to tell it what this variable is going to be storing, what kind of data type. So here we've declared a variable called I, and it will, let's not do that. We've declared a variable called I, and then we're telling it that this is going to be an int32. So this variable is most likely going to be used to store, well, in this case, it's just used for this for loop. So as you can see, they never declared it to be equal to anything. So they're using it for the for loop. So in this case, I equals 0. This is so they don't have to do for int32 I equals 0, which would basically be creating a new a new because with a for loop, when you create like I equals 0, blah blah blah, you're creating a new variable here, and this variable is used for the loop. So that's really all it's doing. But in this case, what they're doing is instead of like in C++, you would do like int I equals 0, and then you could do I as less than. You don't have to do the int anymore after that because you declared it as a variable. So I'm guessing the reason they're doing this is just because then they could just call I instead of having to do int 32I or whatever, pass it the variable type beforehand. Or I actually haven't tested to see. It might actually be because they declare variables as var in here, similar to like old school JavaScript. Maybe it's just the way the scripting language is that you have to declare the variable for your for loops before the for loop. Maybe you can't just do like, something like this, where it would be like int 32 I, you know, or in some cases you might even do it like this, but um, because of the way this is declared, this is basically like, I believe that's like a macro. I believe they created a macro for that, and that's why it's highlighted in green like this. I believe that's a macro. Because C++, you might do the same thing. You might like make integers like, I know for game development, we typically used to use like U32 and U16 and U8 for integers and stuff like that. So that's basically what they did here. They basically made a macro that tells it, okay, well, this is an integer and this one's a 32-bit integer. That's basically what's going on there. Um, so, like, the idea is I'm trying to get some kind of understanding because they didn't explain none of this in any of the CD Projekt Red videos that I watched that go through modding. They didn't explain for people who don't understand or who want to get into it and don't understand coding, like what's going on. Like even if you have like some JavaScript knowledge or like even some GSC knowledge, which is fairly easy, you might not be able to understand this because if you've only dealt with non-type dependent languages, it's going to throw you off. So I wanted to explain this because basically this is just C++, you know, prettied up to look like JavaScript. That's basically all it is. Because it's got the same formatting and syntax as JavaScript, but with the type dependency of C++. So that's basically all this language is. It's basically just modified C++ to look like JavaScript. um, so yeah. But anyways, yeah, as you can see here again, the same thing. We got a type being passed in, and we've got the data type. Again, we got the same thing here with a return value. So if we look at something a little bit different. Like down here, you'll see we got to type again the same thing. And then this is a keyword. I'm not sure what this is for. I haven't had to mess with that one at all yet, so I don't know what that's for. But then we've got a curve name, and that's a type of C name. So this is where it's going to get more confusing because there's data types that you as a user may not know exist because it's stuff that was specifically made for this game. And mostly because it's an RPG, a lot of this stuff has to do with the RPG elements. So it's stuff like, you know, C name in this case, I would believe would be the curve name, but it's just shorthand for curve name, or you know, something of that sort. I can't really think of another word that it may be shorthand for, but basically, as you can see, you can kind of get a bit of an understanding of the context of what this is used for, what kind of data is going to be being used here. So, like a curve name, that's like, so that would be um, for like tweaking um, difficulty curve, maybe would probably be the best way to put it. And again, this one's not returning anything. This one's not returning anything, but as you see, this is something that I did want to talk about because I do understand what this is for. So now this is a function that takes in a type, and this one is um, a mandatory argument. You don't, these arguments to say optional in front of them aren't mandatory, meaning you could pass this in something, you could pass in a type to this and not pass in any of the other stuff, and it would still work just the same because these are optional. So in this case, is debug boolean. Um, so is debug is, you know, it basically is passing in a true or false. Is this a debug? Um, you know, when you modify the proficiency, is this a debug modification? And optional level increase, and that's an int32. So you're passing in a number that you would like to increase. Uh, so yeah, and that's basically what's going on here. And then this does all the work. Um, and it looks like they didn't finish this because there's some missing code there. They got an else with nothing in it. So to be honest, that else is kind of useless because it doesn't do anything. There's nothing in there. It's not like, oh, it returns a different value. It just doesn't return anything anyway. So it's not like um, this else statement would probably be to put some different code in there if this doesn't pass. But basically, it looks like the way they did it is if else, then just do nothing. So, um, but really, they could have achieved the same thing without putting an else there at all. But my hunch is that uh, at the time they released the update with this script, this version of the script, they didn't finish whatever they had planned on putting in there. And I couldn't tell you what that possibly could have been. But yeah, you could see that, this game's still a work in progress. So, um, but yeah, I'm not going to go on for too long. I kind of more or less explained some of the more simpler aspects of it. Like, we understand that variables have to be type dependent. So you have to tell it, oh, I'm making a variable and I'm going to call it I. And okay, so it's an integer. And in this game, I don't think they have int 16 or any other kind of integers or even int 64. So they're usually always going to be int 32. Um, so if you're going to be doing a single whole numbers, you're going to do an int 32. Um, there is float types. I don't know if we're going to come across one, but this variable is an I blackboard. The blackboard this is for um, that's like stats that are kind of predetermined and saved. So like stuff that you're when you play the game as you level up and whatnot, that like your level increase, your stats, all that stuff gets saved to a blackboard file, and that's what type of data this is. So that's what that is. Level up data just basically is like the same thing. It stores like you know in this case I'm not sure exactly what it's storing, but it could be what you leveled up for. It could be storing the amount you leveled up, which usually would be level amount or something like that. But this just stores like there's probably more of a like something that's probably an array in the background that's got different things to it, or maybe even an enumeration. I'm not exactly sure. Um, there's a lot of scripts to go through, so I don't fully understand everything that's going on in this language, but I was hoping to give a basic overview of like how stuff works in here so new modders could like kind of get an understanding of what they're doing when they're messing with stuff. And like in this case, effects, there's an array. You're telling it the data type's an array and what type is in that array. So what that array is storing. And again, the same here. So effect tags and the CNAME. So CNAME might be like client name. Uh, might be what that is. But I'm not 100% sure. It's short for something. I haven't came across needing to use it. Once I do, then I'll understand what it is. Once I actually have to use it and put it to use. But yeah, you can see here. Um, I'm going to scroll down and try and find the function that I created. So here's add experience. This is where I started making my changes. As you can see, this normally wouldn't be here. Basically, I hijacked this function early on in it so that then you can't level up. And then here is the function I created, which makes all these calls to functions that already exist. This was my brute force way of making sure you can't level up or get any kind of proficiency level ups or development points is dev points. Those are like perk points, attribute points, relic points. That's what those are. So, what's going on here is we're clearing all that stuff and we're resetting them just to make sure. Basically, it's brute force. It's ensuring that there's no possible way you're getting any of that. And another change I made was down here somewhere. This function here, get experience percentage, because it would still show you like on screen after you would complete a battle. It would show you. I don't know what the hell was making that noise. My computer's being fucking weird. One of my fans is being noisy. So anyway, it would that was a bug I had to fix. So anyways, what it was doing was when you would finish combat, it would still show on the screen like, oh, this much towards like this perk, this much towards like like net runner or whatever, for instance. It would show you this much towards level, this much towards street cred, whatever, towards your leveling up. How many points percentage towards it. And in the stat screen, sometimes it would show a percentage towards the next level up. It would never let you level up, but it would still sometimes fill up the percentage bar as if you were going to level up. And then once it reached, where it would roll over, then it would just, go back to one. That was kind of a bug that I had in it. But now it doesn't do that. It doesn't show you a level up message on the screen or any percentage towards the next level of anything in the menus when you go into like your character menu or anything. And basically, I don't have a copy of the function up right now to show you what it originally was, but all I did was just remove everything out of this function and return 0 because um, this function returns an int32, and the int32 that it's returning is the percentage towards your next level up, or towards your next, level on your attribute or whatever it's calculating for. So whether that be level, street cred, um, or any of the proficiencies like shinobi, headhunter, all that stuff. Um, so now instead it's just going to return 0. So every time this function gets called, it's just going to 0. So you're not going to see that bug where it looks like you're leveling up even though you're not supposed to be able to, and you're not leveling up. Uh, but it may lead you to believe that my mod wasn't working correctly. When it was, it just didn't show correct percentages because I never bothered to look for to fix that. I did fix that recently. Um, Other than that, there's really not too much to go over. I decided to work with the script that I'm a little bit more familiar with because this is the one I've worked in the most for my mod. Um, but I figured I would kind of explain to you a little bit about how this stuff works. So as you can see here, here's a boolean, and this is a good use of explanation because you can see this is a boolean, and here they've set it to false, and then down here they've set it to true. So you could see how this needs to be done, how you'd have to go about doing it. I do think I'm going to eventually touch on this later when I, come more prepared. This I just kind of got on and started recording it. I'll probably prepare a more scripted and streamlined tutorial. Maybe we'll make some of our own functions and we'll call them in different places throughout here. I mean, I kind of already did do that with the disable leveling function right here. But maybe we'll go through and we'll create a function that does something else. Or maybe we'll tweak this and make it add level or something, even though you're not supposed to level up or whatever. Um, I don't know yet. I'm not sure what I want to do for that. But then I can, not only explain this stuff, but actually kind of show you how you would have to go about writing stuff so it works. Um, because it is really finicky. Sometimes you'll write something like maybe you'll change a variable, like okay, oh yeah, this is an int32, and then you change the somewhere down here you hijack it, and let's see, p index, like right here, well, maybe this one, right? And then okay, yeah, that's an int32. I should be able to just change this and equal it to whatever I want, right? Well, sometimes you do that. Say you change this out and you put 0 there or something, then it breaks, and then when it goes to compile your script before you launch your mod, it doesn't work. And then you have to go back and you have to revert it back to what it was and try and hijack from somewhere else. Um, so yeah, sometimes you'll find that changing things in a way that would make sense and should work just doesn't. So you have to be mindful that this can be finicky. It's a little bit finicky. Um, but I think that's really all I want to explain for now. Um, if you have any questions, I'll try and help you out. If you you know, like and subscribe. If you guys want to see more of this stuff and you want me to put more effort into making more, advanced mod tutorials for this sometime in the future, if you want, uh, more scripting tutorials where maybe we actually do some coding and I kind of show you the ins and outs of how you're going to need to write your code so shit works. Um, Whatever you want, follow-ups, whatever, let me know. Comments, like, subscribe, all that stuff helps. Kind of been demotivated to make videos lately. That's why I haven't finished working on any of the GSC tutorials. It's just they're not getting enough traction. I mean, I know it's a niche and it's an older game, but you know, I put a lot of time and effort into that stuff. So like, it just it's really demotivating that I'm not getting anywhere with views on that stuff because it really does take a long time to make one of those videos. Like when I made the video for this script right here, even, you know, I wrote all the code, tested it, made sure every single piece of code was functional code, you know, and not just demonstration code that has errors in it. This is legitimate code that will work if you decide to use it yourself. Um, then I had to go through and write the script. Then I had to go through and have video footage prepared for setting everything up, such as the triggers and all that stuff. And then I got, you know, voiceover, and then I got to edit all that stuff. And it's demotivating when you work on a video for like, so even if it's only like a 10-minute video, and it takes you like, sometimes those videos take like 8 hours of work just to get them out, you know. Maybe some of them even longer because it's like, you know, you got to sit there, you got to think of what you want to say. So you have to write your script, and then sometimes you're refining your script, and sometimes that takes hours. So, you know, it is a lot of work that goes into those videos, the scripted ones. Like this here, there's not a lot of work that goes into this, but there still kind of is because I have to go through and I have to understand what I'm explaining, or there's no point in me explaining it, you know. So yeah, please help out with that. You know, my channel is varied though. I do post other shit. I've been messing around with a game called Axe of Blood. It's still in a demo. It's supposed to be coming out 2026, but I'm practicing that. I might actually start speed running it when the full game launches. I might actually speed run the entire game. Uh, Unfortunately, they patched a glitch that made speed running the demo, you know, pretty quick. I was able to do it in less than 2 minutes, but I think somebody else had a little bit shorter time than me somewhere out there. But you know, um, the way I did it, I think could have led me to have the fastest time on it if they wouldn't have patched the bug that made you be able to skip straight to the end. But anyway, I'm just kind of rambling now. But anyways, yeah, that's about all I wanted to explain for now. Is that this is a type dependent language. You're gonna probably encounter some problems, especially when you're new and you're just trying to make changes to stuff and you're not fully understanding what you're doing. But yeah, ask questions. If I can help you, I will. There's probably people out there that are better at this than me that could explain it better, but you know, I'll try my best. Um, and like I said, if you like to see more, let me know. Please comment and tell me. You know, I'll try and, you know, figure stuff out to make new videos about. Um, you know, if there's any particular thing you want to see done in the game, I could try and do it, but you got to keep in mind there's a lot of scripts to go through, and some of them are interconnected. So, to make certain things happen, I may have to work with multiple scripts. So it may take a while because I still haven't reverse engineered half of the scripts. Like, really, this is the one I've messed with the most. Like, I've peeked at most of the other ones, but I haven't really looked into them deep enough to understand everything that's going on in them. So, you know, you got to keep that in mind. I just don't have a lot of time to do it. So that's the other thing. Time's kind of a factor. I might not actually have the time to do it right away. Like, I really don't have a lot of time to do any of this, but I still try and do some of it here and there when I have time. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. I don't have time to always make videos or even do the coding to get a video ready to be made, let alone make one, you know. So, um, and when I do, sometimes it's just I'm exhausted from everything. I don't want to be stressing my brain no more. So instead of doing that, I'd just rather play a game or do something that's a little more relaxing. So, uh, but yeah, that's all I got for you today. But if you like this, you know, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to make some more videos on it. And I'll try and come up with some stuff for us to maybe do together on here. And I'll see you in the next one.